After my wife passed away, my sister-in-law tried to take my children. She called CPS on me, but the judge's decision left her completely shocked. I, 29M, lost my wife, Mia, 31F, in a horrific vehicle accident 6 months ago. We have twin sons, Ethan and Noah, 7M, and their transition to life without their mother has been extremely challenging. Mia and I met in high school. She was a senior and I was a sophomore. It was not love at first sight or anything dramatic like that. We were lab partners in AP biology, and at first we couldn't stand one another. Mia believed I was a slacker because I was often joking around, and I thought she was stressed because she was obsessed with obtaining perfect grades. However, as we worked together during the semester, things changed. I could see Mia was passionate about science, and her eyes lit up when she talked about her ambitions to work in technology. She recognized that, despite my joker demeanor, I was actually quite excellent at biology and cared about succeeding. We began hanging out outside of class, studying together, and those study sessions evolved into date nights. When Mia left for college, everyone assumed we wouldn't last. They believed high school relationships couldn't survive long distance, but we proved them wrong. We talked every day, saw each other as frequently as possible, and when I graduated 2 years later, I chose a college near her so we could finally be together again. We married just after I finished college. There was a little ceremony in Mia's parents' backyard. Mia's sister, Jen, 35F, served as maid of honor, and my best college mate was the best man. Mia's parents, John, 62M, and Linda, 60F, were overjoyed. They had always regarded me as a son and now it was official. We had the boys a year later. It wasn't planned and we were both shocked to learn Mia was pregnant, and much more so when we discovered she was carrying twins. However, the moment Ethan and Noah were born, they became our entire universe. Mia was always the ambitious one. She secured a position as a software engineer at a major technology business right out of college and swiftly rose through the ranks. I had studied education with the intention of becoming a teacher, but when the boys were born, we felt it would be more practical for me to stay at home with them. Mia's pay was more than adequate to sustain us, and childcare for twins would have consumed the majority of my potential teaching compensation anyhow. I like being a stay-at-home dad. I got to see all of the boys' firsts. First steps, first words, and first day of school. Mia would come home every evening, eager to hear about their day, and weekends were always spent with the family. We lived a lovely, happy life. Then 6 months ago everything shifted. Mia was heading home after a late night at work. It had been pouring, the roads were slick and a drunk driver had run a red light and damaged her vehicle. She was killed on impact. In a moment, our lovely little world was shattered. The first several weeks following Mia's death were a fog. I was in shock, going through the rituals of preparing the funeral and caring for the boys without fully absorbing what had happened. Jen and Mia's parents were quite helpful throughout that time. They essentially moved in, preparing meals, assisting with the boys, and taking phone calls from well-wishers. However, as the weeks passed into months, I began to feel suffocated. Jen, in particular, appeared reluctant to leave. She'd come over every day, frequently staying until late in the evening. At first, I was appreciative for the assistance. She'd cook meals, help with the boys' homework, and even begin teaching them how to play the piano, which Mia had always wanted to do but never had the time for. Jen's behavior did, however, become more controlling and judgmental over time. She began making comments about my parenting. She'd say things like, "Mia would have done it this way," or "the boys need a woman's touch." It hurt, but I brushed it off, believing she was also grieving. She then proceeded to criticize my job search efforts. With Mia gone, I needed to start earning money to support the boys, but if I mentioned a job application or an interview, Jen would reply, "You should be focusing on the boys, not your career." Or, "Mia wouldn't want you to put the boys in daycare." I tried to explain that I had no choice. Our funds would not last forever, and while Mia had life insurance, I preferred to save that money for the boys' future. But Jen would not listen. She insisted that she and her husband, Mark, 37M, could help out financially if necessary. Jen arrived unannounced with a bundle of documents last week, escalating the situation. She sat me down at the kitchen table, where Mia and I had spent countless evenings discussing our future, and informed me that she thought it would be best if she became the boys' legal guardian. I was stunned. Jen went on to say that she and Mark could create a more stable home situation for the boys, who needed a mother role. She discussed how they had a larger house in a better school district, how Mark's position as a lawyer meant they were financially stable, and how she could remain at home full-time with the boys, just as I had done. I listened in disbelief as Jen explained her idea. She assured me that I could still see the boys whenever I wanted, and that this was not about taking them away from me, but about doing what was best for them. She even proposed that I move in with them, at least temporarily, to aid with the transition. When I finally found my voice, I told her, no, absolutely not. These were my children and Mia's children. We raised kids together and planned their futures together. I was fully capable of raising children on my own. Jen did not take my refusal well. She started ranting, accusing me of being selfish and not thinking about what was best for the boys. She brought up every minor error I'd made in the previous 6 months, such as forgetting to pack Ethan's lunch for a school trip or Noah receiving a low mark because I didn't assist him study for an exam. She had the audacity to suggest that Mia would be disappointed in me. That was the final straw. I lost my temper and ordered Jen to leave. I told her she was no longer welcome in our home unless she respected my status as the boy's father. She departed in tears, and I assumed that was the end of it. Yesterday, I received a call from Child Protective Services. They informed me that someone had expressed concern about my abilities to care for the boys. They didn't say who created the report, but I knew it had to be Jen. I am enraged and afraid. A CPS worker is due to investigate our home next week. I contacted John and Linda to explain what had happened, hoping they could persuade Jen. Instead, they agreed with her. They believe I am being unreasonable and should consider Jen's offer for the benefit of the boys. They even propose that I live with them and allow them help raise the children. I feel like I'm under attack from all sides. These people claim to love my boys, but they are attempting to destroy the only stable thing the twins have left, their bond with me. I'm doing my best to balance everything, and while I've made mistakes, I adore my sons more than anything in the world. Last night, after I put the boys to bed, I sat in Mia's former home office, surrounded by her belongings. Her degrees on the wall, family photos on the desk, and even her favorite coffee mug, which was right where she left it the morning before. I broke down and cried for the first time in months. I miss her so badly. I miss her counsel, her laugh, and the way she could always relax me when I was stressed. I'm not sure how to do this without her, but I need to figure it out for Ethan and Noah. They have already lost their mother. I can't let them lose their father either. I do not know what to do. Should I concede to avoid a messy legal battle? Should I lose relations with Mia's family entirely? How can I safeguard my rights as a father while simultaneously doing what is best for my boys? Update 1. It's been a month since my previous post, and a lot has changed. First and foremost, I'd like to express my gratitude for everyone's kind remarks and advice. Your remarks helped me gain perspective and find the courage to speak up for myself and my sons. The CPS visit was 2 weeks ago and it went better than expected. Sarah, the social worker, was both compassionate and professional. She arrived early in the morning, right as I was preparing the boys for school. I was nervous, but I tried to appear normal for Ethan and Noah's sake. Sarah observed our morning routine, me making breakfast, well, pouring cereal, but hey, it was a healthy brand. Assisting the boys in packing their backpacks, and double-checking that Ethan had his inhaler. She appeared impressed by how well the boys behaved and how easily everything went. Sarah inspected our home after I dropped the boys off at school. I'll admit that it wasn't spotless. There were some dishes in the sink from the night before and toys scattered throughout the living room, but it was clean where it counted. No safety concerns, plenty of food in the fridge and clean clothes in the boys' wardrobes. I showed Sarah the boys' room, which still contained some of Mia's touches. She had created a woodland painting on one wall when the boys were toddlers. They adore it so much that I can't force myself to paint over it, even though it breaks my heart every time I see it. Sarah spotted the piano in the main area and inquired about it. I mentioned how Jen had been teaching the boys to play, but I didn't go into depth about our disagreement. I did add that music was important to Mia and that I was trying to keep that aspect of her alive for the boys. I had prepared a folder with crucial documents, including the boys' medical records, school reports, and even a detailed plan of our daily activities. I also have documents for my job search and financial preparations. Sarah appeared impressed with my organization and effort. During her visit, Sarah interviewed me about our current predicament. I was open about the obstacles I've faced as a single father, but I also highlighted all of my efforts. I told her about our family counseling sessions and how I've encouraged the boys to talk about their mother and their emotions. Sarah didn't inquire who wrote the CPS report, but she did ask whether anyone had any reservations about my parenting. I pondered before deciding to be honest. I recounted the scenario to Jen and Mia's parents, including my assumptions about who had made the report. Sarah declined to confirm or deny, however she did state that fraudulent reports are handled extremely seriously. Sarah called me about a week following our visit. She informed me that the case would be closed because there was no evidence of neglect or abuse. She also stated that they would be looking into the source of the report for any potential system misuse. I felt a great weight lifted off my shoulders. With that hurdle crossed, I resolved to confront Jen. I asked her over to chat while the boys were at a friend's house. She was clearly nervous when she came. We sat at the kitchen table, where she had startled me with her guardianship papers a month before. I carefully lay out everything. How her actions had affected me and the boys, my suspicions regarding the CPS report, and my next steps. I informed her that, while I appreciated her assistance in the beginning, her subsequent acts had crossed a boundary. Jen burst into tears, confirming that she had actually phoned CPS. She said she was concerned about the boys and believed she was doing the right thing. She mentioned how seeing me struggle reminded her of when Mia and I first started dating, and how protective she had been of her younger sister. I then told her that, while I realized she was also suffering, her behaviors were inappropriate. I stated that for the time being, she would not be permitted unsupervised visits with the boys. She would only be able to view them if I was present. Jen did not take it well. She accused me of using the boys to punish her and threatened to sue for grandparents' rights on John and Linda's behalf. I held firm, warning her that any additional threats would result in her losing all contact with the boys. After Jen had left, I called John and Linda. I described everything that had transpired and my decision about Jen. To my surprise, they were more understanding than I anticipated. They admitted to being concerned, but later realized they had gone too far. They apologized for recommending that I give up custody and asked if we could work on repairing our relationship. We decided to start with brief, supervised visits. They came over last weekend, and it was fine. Not spectacular, but not bad either. The boys were delighted to meet their grandparents, and John and Linda appeared to make an effort to support rather than question my parenting choices. I've been honest with the boys about what's going on in an age-appropriate way. They miss their aunt, but they've shown incredible resilience. We've started attending a family counselor to assist us get through this difficult period. Noah confessed during our previous session that he sometimes feels upset at Mia for leaving us. It crushed my heart, but the counselor indicated it's a common reaction for children struggling with loss. On a good side, I was able to acquire a work-from-home position as a customer support representative for an online retailer. It's not ideal, and certainly not what I expected to accomplish with my education degree, but it allows me to be present for the boys while also earning a living. The hours are flexible, so I can work while the boys are in school and after they go to bed. I've also contacted out to other of Mia's former colleagues, who have been really sympathetic. Several of them have offered to serve as references for me, and one even assisted me in updating my resume. It's bittersweet. These are folks I used to see at corporate picnics and holiday parties, and now they're assisting me in finding work because Mia is no longer with us. It is still a battle. Every day I am overcome with emotion when I look at the boys and see Mia's eyes or grin, and it hits me all over again that she is no longer with us. But we're figuring out our new normal. Last night, as I was snuggling the boys into bed, Ethan asked if we could go to the park where Mia used to take them on Saturdays. It hurt, yet it felt good to recall those pleasant days. We're planning to go this weekend. I am more motivated than ever to be the father that Ethan and Noah deserve. Mia and I may not have prepared for this, but I am confident she would be pleased with how we are handling it. We'll be okay. Update 2. It's been 3 months since my previous update, and I wish I could say things had improved, but life seems determined to throw more problems at us. Jen reached out about a month ago to apologize. She explained that she had begun bereavement counseling and realized how improper her actions had been. She asked if we could begin mending our connection. I was cautious, but I agreed to let her observe the boys in supervised settings. We started with short visits to our residence. Jen would come over for supper once a week, and we'd play board games or watch movies together. It was awkward at first, but eventually things seemed more normal. The boys were overjoyed to have their aunt back in their life, especially since she started their piano lessons. Things were going nicely for a few weeks. Jen seemed to accept my boundaries, and there were times when I felt like we were reuniting as a family. She even helped me paint the boys' room. We preserved Mia's woodland mural while updating the rest of the walls to reflect the boys' current interests. But then, last week, everything crumbled again. I received a call from the boys' school in the middle of my work shift. Ethan experienced a severe asthma attack, and when they attempted to use his inhaler, they realized it was empty. I was horrified. I regularly check their inhalers and carry extras at school. I dashed to the school, my pulse racing the entire way. When I arrived, I found Jen in the nurse's office with Ethan. She was distraught, apologizing repeatedly. Ethan was pale and wobbly, but well. The school nurse was able to utilize a nebulizer to assist him with breathing. Jen had picked up the boys from school the day before, with my consent, and driven them to the park. Ethan had a slight episode, and they depleted his inhaler. Jen agreed to tell me so I could refill it, but she forgot. She was so embarrassed that she didn't say anything, hoping that I'd check it myself before the boys left for school. I was infuriated. Jen had not only endangered Ethan's life, but she had also violated my trust. In the heat of the moment, I informed her that she was no longer welcome in our life. I yelled some nasty things that I'm not proud of, but I was terrified and angry. The next day, I received a letter from an attorney. Jen and Mia's parents are seeking grandparents' rights and custody of the boys. They are saying that I'm an unfit parent, citing the asthma event and the earlier CPS report as evidence. I am devastated and afraid. I cannot lose my boys. They are all I have left of Mia, and more significantly, they are my entire universe. I have called a family lawyer, and we are planning to fight this. But I'm worried. What if the judge thinks I'm an inadequate parent? What if they believe the boys will be better off with Jen and their grandparents? To make matters worse, my work-from-home job is faltering. The company is downsizing, and I'm concerned about losing my income just when I need it most for legal bills. I've started applying for various jobs, but it's difficult to find something that gives me the flexibility to care for the boys. The guys realize that something is wrong. They have been asking about Aunt Jen and why they are unable to see her. I'm trying to shelter them from the legal battle, but it's difficult. Noah has begun to have nightmares, and Ethan's asthma appears to be flaring up more frequently, most likely owing to stress. Last night, I discovered Noah sitting in Mia's old office, gazing at images of her on her computer. He asked me if Mommy would be upset with him for missing Aunt Jen. It broke my heart. I sat with him and we went through the images, discussing our greatest recollections of Mia. I told him that Mommy would never be mad at him for his sentiments, and that it's okay to miss someone even if we disagree with them. I feel like I'm failing them. I strive so hard to be both a mother and a father, to care for them financially and emotionally, but it never seems enough. I miss Mia more than ever. She would know how to manage it. She always knew exactly what to say to make things better. Mrs. Rodriguez, our neighbor, has been a godsend throughout this. She is a retired teacher who lives next door and has been helping me with the boys after school. She has offered to testify on my behalf if the custody matter proceeds to court. It means a lot to know that someone notices how hard I try. I'm not giving up, however. These are my guys, and I will fight with everything I have to keep our family together. I only hope this is enough. Update 3. It has been 6 weeks since my last update, and I'm relieved to report that things have finally improved. The custody struggle between Jen and Mia's parents went to court. It was a tough process that took several days. I had to sit there and listen while Jen and her lawyer branded me as an unfit parent, pointing out every mistake I had made since Mia's death. They discussed the asthma incident, the CPS report, and times when I had been late picking up the boys from school due to work. But my lawyer was fantastic. She helped me remain cool and presented our argument effectively. We had character witnesses, Mrs. Rodriguez, the boys' teachers, and even some of Mia's former co-workers, who testified to how involved I am in the boys' lives, how they are always clean, well-fed and happy. Mrs. Rodriguez's testimony was quite moving. She mentioned overhearing me reading to the boys every night, even when I was fatigued from work, and how she frequently observed us playing in the backyard or doing homework together. We also had evidence of all of my efforts, such as documentation of our therapy sessions, the boys' improved grades, and even a notebook I'd kept to chronicle Ethan's asthma symptoms and treatments. The turning point came when the judge requested to talk with Ethan and Noah alone. I was nervous, but I was confident the boys would tell the truth. When they came out, Noah went up to me and hugged me tightly. The judge did not tell me what they said, but her eyes shone with new comprehension. In the end, the judge decided in my favor. She stated that, while I'm not perfect, I am a dedicated father who does his best in difficult circumstances. She chastised Jen and my in-laws for attempting to bully me through the judicial system rather than working together to benefit the boys. The judge ordered Jen and Mia's parents to come to family counseling with us if they want to keep their contact with the boys. They agreed, and we have had 2 sessions thus far. It's been tense, but I'm hoping we can rebuild trust for the benefit of the boys. On the work front, I received unexpected excellent news. One of Mia's former co-workers contacted her with a job offer. It's an entry-level employment at the tech business Mia previously worked for, with flexible hours and the ability to work from home as needed. The compensation is significantly more than my current employment and there is possibility for advancement. I start next month and am both excited and nervous. The guys are doing better too. We've settled into a good pattern and they're becoming more honest about their feelings. Last week, Noah said he was proud of me for fighting the bad guys in court. It made me realize that, despite my efforts to insulate them, they know more than I give them credit for. We still have terrible days. Sometimes I reach for my phone to text me about something hilarious the boys did, only to realize she's gone. The boys still grieve when they mourn their mother, but we are learning to navigate this new normal together. I understand we have a long road ahead of us, but for the first time in a long time, I am optimistic about our future. Mia would be proud of how far we've come, and I'm determined to keep going for the boys and her memory. Thank you for your continued support along this journey. Your wisdom and nice words have been a lifeline at the most difficult times. We'll be okay. I'm tired of my ex-husband's wife wanting to be friends with me just because he cheated on both of us. Original post. I don't understand why I'm in this situation, and honestly I'm frustrated because even my own family tells me I'm the bad one here. I just need to vent and I don't need any advice or somebody telling me do this. I think you should tell her this. Or I would write her this or this. More than 17 years ago my ex-husband cheated on me with a woman I didn't know, but she knew me. He left me for her. Our only daughter was a baby and I just moved on with my life. I'm never going to fight for a man who makes immature decisions without first thinking about the consequences. He married that woman. I went on with my life preferring to have a healthy co-parenting for my daughter. He never showed remorse, and he had even told me that ours was always a mistake and that woman was the love of his life. That helped me to realize that he's a total dick and I don't need a man like that in my life. Now he cheated on her, and for some reason this woman who always had a really cold and distant relationship with me is insisting on trying to talk with me every day. I found out about the infidelity from my daughter, who wasn't affected by that. So I didn't think too much about it. The only thing that worried me was to know if he was going to be able to continue having our daughter at his house on weekends as always. But his wife started sending me messages explaining what happened when I never asked her that, and in the past I only spoke to her if her husband didn't answer my text to ask something about my daughter. It's obvious that she needs to talk about it. It doesn't matter if I answer dryly because she sends me long audio talking about it anyway. I mean, I understand that she needs to talk about her husband's infidelity and blah, but why me? I don't want to be rude, but I don't care how she or he feels. In one of her audios she says, "You know how I feel now?" Like, I guess. But that was 17 years ago. It's not the same. And if I'm being 100% honest, she can't compare herself to me at all. A woman who has just given birth to whom her husband tells her that he has been cheating on her for a long time with another woman who is not boring in bed and does know how to value him, vs. A woman who always knew that her husband is unfaithful and decided to marry him anyway. Anyway, I've tried to ignore her as much as I can, but even when I talk to my family or friends about this, almost all of them told me things like, "Oh, but she must feel lonely. But she wasn't to blame for being the other one. I think you should be more empathetic. We all need someone to talk to." Or my favorite one. "She's not to blame for him being a cheater. You should understand her because she needs help." I understand that she is not to blame and he's the cheater, but she, a totally adult woman at that time, decided to marry a man she knew was sleeping with her while his wife was pregnant, so why should I now carry the weight of helping her when she never helped me by telling me, "Hey, your husband slept with me and that's really shitty because he's married with you." Or that's what I'd do if a married man flirts with me. Now, if she didn't do any of that, then why is it my duty as a feminist to force myself to be her friend? It doesn't make sense, and the worst thing is that almost all the women around me tell me that I should help her and be her ear when I don't want or feel empathy for her or for him. I think she and he knew very well what they were getting into. I don't understand why I should be her free therapist now. Being cheated on is not my whole personality. I don't need to talk about that 24/7 with her. I just chose to ignore her, and that's what I'm going to continue doing because I just don't care how she feels, even if I'm a bad feminist for not feeling empathy. Sorry, my first language is Spanish and I wrote everything pretty annoyed. Edit. No, I can't block her because she's still living with him and I need to have her contact me in case of an emergency with my daughter. And honestly, it's weird to have so many comments and even private messages from people wanting to tell me what I should send to her and even writing what I feel. I'm sorry, but there's no way I'm going to use the message of a stranger who doesn't know how I feel or the whole situation to say something to someone. I feel like a lot of people in the comments are reflecting their own traumas. Update. Hi, it's been a while since I posted and I just wanted to give a little update for people who were worried. First of all, my mother was a lover for a long time when I was a teenager plus during my adulthood. Their relationship lasted long years until he died. I think his wife never found out about his affair. That's why my mom manipulates me so much into not judging my ex's wife, because no one chooses who to fall in love with. My mother always reflected herself on that woman, and that's why she said that my ex-husband and his lover, now wife, are soulmates and I shouldn't get in the way. I was very young, At the time I could only lean on my mother for a little support and well, narcissists always catch vulnerable people. Nowadays I don't have much contact with her but my daughter spends time with my family. And about my friends, well, I am a feminist activist and opinions regarding lovers are divided because most of them are on the liberal side. Most of the times is seen as something misogynistic to judge them because they are single women and the man is the one we should blame, plus we need to be sororas with other girls. So I expected that reaction from most of them. I agree with that in most cases but not in this one. I can feel empathy when the woman did not know or when she is a minor being groomed but in this case I do not feel any pity because she knew well what she was doing. Women can also be mean and cruel. Women can also choose to be the bad guys in the story without someone manipulating us, because we are not weak and my ex's wife is that kind of woman. No one manipulated her into doing anything. I'm sorry, that explanation was perhaps unnecessary but there were people who didn't understand my family's and friends' behavior and honestly it feels good to vent. I have spoken with my ex's wife because honestly a few days ago I had a really stressful day and the last thing I needed was to see her messages in my WhatsApp so I just exploded. I planned to continue ignoring her, but that day I was upset about things about my work and I ended up telling her everything. I sent her an audio telling her that I'm not interested in her life or in the fact she's suffering. I told her that I am not her friend nor am I interested in being one. She never asked me for forgiveness and now she expects me to start the group of women cheated on by my ex. I told her other things and I would love to be able to post videos here. I told her that she knew very well what she got herself into. She knew well that my ex was capable of cheating on the mother of his baby but she still decided to marry him and live the stupid fantasy that she could change him and that she was different from all the other women he was with. God, I hate long audios but it was plus 5 whole minutes telling her that her situation and mine are nothing alike. I think that was my greatest catharsis. She got upset and we started arguing. It was quite tiring and the last thing I want is to have problems after 17 years of having normal co-parenting. I know they are not going to get divorced and that means I will have to live with her in my life forever, so I sent a message to my ex resending him one of the audios she sent me. I took the work to listen to them all and she never apologized to me. I don't need her apologies, BTW. I don't care but some comments asked me about that. They were just audios complaining and wanting us both to speak badly about him or wanting to have me as her free therapist. I told my ex to tell his wife to calm down and pay for a psychologist. He apologized to me and told me that they are both working on the marriage so they're at the stage where she still feels angry and insecure with him. Like, yes, obviously, idiot. So since I suffered the same, no, it's not the same, she felt that we could share the pain. He told me that they both started going to the online conferences of I don't know what couple who teach how to get over an infidelity. Sometimes I feel envious of people who can scam others so easily. Anyway, I told him that I'm not friends with her and that this affects our co-parenting so he should put a stop to her if she doesn't understand what I say. In the end he reluctantly told me he was going to talk to her and I've gone 3 days without any message from her, except today one where she just told me that my daughter was sleeping there. So I guess it worked. I don't care if they live a happy or miserable marriage. I don't care if she's happy knowing that he cheated on her but stays with him anyways. I just want to live in peace without getting into trouble with people who at plus 40 years old are still living mentally in high school.